This podcast is sponsored by CSMI, the maker of the HUMAC Norm isokinetic system. Purchase a new or refurbished machine, or you can even upgrade an existing system to bring it up to date with all the latest testing and training applications. Please visit csmisolutions.com to view all of their available products, including the HUMAC Norm isokinetic system, the HUMAC Balance portable computerized balance system, and Sportswear Online. CSMI. Better data leads to better results.
The Everything PT podcast is sponsored by Vald Performance. Vald is the creator of the airbands for blood flow restriction therapy. If you are looking to stay up to date with today's post-surgical modalities and adding BFR to your clinic, please visit valdperformance.com. Hello, and welcome to the Everything PT podcast with Matt Taylor and Daniel Bodkin. Please do not consider anything you hear to be medical advice. Just a couple of guys ranting about everything PT. Enjoy the show. Hello, Daniel. Good to see you, my friend. How you doing?
I'm good. Just came back from Chicago. I was installing a new isokinetic system for DePaul University. And Matt, it's the first time I've been in an athletic training room since I was an athletic training student. So it was pretty cool to see that program, much different than USF where I went, where it's, a lot of sports, large university. This was smaller, but very good with the sports they have.
Okay.
All basketball is huge.
You know what?
Trying to install a giant piece of equipment while it's in a working athletic training room, and it was a different one, but it was really cool. It was fun being back in an ATR again.
Just having been a part of your installs, that's like a all day or multiple day affair kind of a thing, right?
It usually takes me about 3 to 3.5 hours to put together the machine, set up the computer, calibrate, write protocols, and then I spend about 2 to 3 hours with the staff training, and I usually leave myself just enough time to rush to the airport, only to be delayed for a couple hours. But that's all right.
Yeah,
how my wife would traveling kill me if I missed the flight.
Oh, I bet. You know what? I'm glad to hear about athletic training facilities getting the isokinetic machine, because who sees more ACL injuries in college than those ATCs? Not too many people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just great. So, because they kind of act like independent, like therapists in some instances too.
Yeah. They work under the license of the team physician, and but yeah, you're pretty autonomous in athletic training, which is really cool. But here's the thing. And, I teach a rehab class for athletic trainers, and I always have to remind myself, in PT, it's all about eval and rehab. But in athletic training, there's so many other things they're doing. They're prepping for practices. They're taping ankles. They're the first line gen med. When the athlete comes in and they're sick for this or that, they're the one that's delegating where that goes. There's after practice breakdown, injuries that happen on the spot. So, they're really being pulled in every which direction, it's a really fun career field to go into.
That's awesome, man. If I could go back and do it over again, I definitely should have done it instead of nuclear medicine. What the heck is it?
Yeah, we'll have to get into that. You mentioned that in one of our last episodes.
Yeah.
Not today, but we'll get into that one.
I'm a little embarrassed of it, but yeah, ATC is definitely the direction I should have gone. So, but yeah,
we got a pretty cool topic today.
Yeah. I'm kind of excited. I know we kicked it around a few times before, but what exactly do PTs do? Do we help make people feel better, or do we actually get people better long term in the long run too? So we don't want to upset anyone with this one, but we'll see. I don't know what the true answer is. I don't think our field does either, but so where you want to go? How you want to start this one off?
All right, because it's really broken down, I think, in a few different categories. You have an acute injury,
Sure.
You have a chronic injury, you have post-surgical, and then there might be, little things in there. Because I think our answer on what we actually do varies. So let's just go with acute injury. You sprain your ankle.
Yep.
Start physical therapy, a few days or a week later.
Right.
All right. I think in that case, we're not actually the ones healing them. We're just kind of letting allowing the body a chance to optimally be in a state where it can heal itself initially.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right on. I think we're kind of the tour guides for the rehab process, and we educate people a lot of times of how long, what they can expect. And early on, use the ankle sprain. We can educate them about, the protection phase, and then, trying to get them back in the reintegration and building capacity and things like that too. But, when it comes to managing pain, I have had a hard time with this. What do you think? This is more of a direct question.
Well,
do you think therapists, like for the ankle sprain, do you think we're good at managing pain and helping decrease their pain?
I would say absolutely. And again, break it down initially. Yeah, because we're giving them that optimal thing, right? But if all we did was say, no range of motion, put that thing in a cast, yeah, it might feel better, but are we actually making them better? So then I would say, there's even that little phase where we're causing pain and irritation because we're making them move that ankle. We're making them load bear when their natural tendency would be pull away. So in that case, I think we are actually improving their function. We are improving their healing. We're improving their tolerance. So I think initially no, but then we kind of shift to where we are doing that.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. That early on in the rehab stage, it's a lot of education, where there are medications involved, and we really don't have a lot to say about meds in our field. But, with rice, ice it, elevate it. You can do some modality stuff there. I guess that's more along the lines what I was asking,
absolutely.
with passive modalities, because I do feel like controlling pain and swelling and education with management and education is really, really good. But I guess more of the passive treatment.
Everybody craps all over modalities, right? Okay. Ultrasound's terrible. E-stim doesn't do anything. When you're the one who has that acute or even subacute grade 2 hamstring strain or an ankle sprain, or cervical issues where you're just in spasm, that ultrasound, that E-stim, that makes a huge difference for you. And I liken those to my patients, like when you go to the dentist and you get the lidocaine before they do their cavity filling or the root canal, right? That lidocaine by itself doesn't do anything for you. Just like the ultrasound or the E-stim by itself won't do anything long-term for you, but it allows you to tolerate getting a cavity filled. Yeah. And so when you have somebody in those early phases, damn it, doing those passive modalities that everybody thinks are just, BS can make your session that much more effective. Not by itself, but it allows, it brings the volume down on that pain to where you can then do more interventions that are going to help that patient.
I agree. And I give into that for sure. I think the part that I have a hard time with is that I just struggle doing something. I'm not sure what kind of effect we're having. There's all sorts of science out there. I've read paper after paper, some good, some bad for ultrasound. Now for things like E-stim, NMES, Russian, excellent for really, really good reasons post-surgically too. But then
here's the trick, Matt. Look, I know you bill for it, right? You're wasting a unit on your billing. You're not getting paid for it. You're wasting, valuable minutes in the clinic. If I say this, if you want ultrasound, if you want a heat pack, if you want stim, you come 15 minutes early. Or if you want, ice and stim after your session, instead of wasting your last 10, 15 minutes on it, you stay 15 minutes late. Yeah. And you get it then. And then it's more like, hey, we're putting it on you, but we're not actively engaging other than, hey, is that feeling okay? So it's on the patient. If they want it, they need to, come early or stay late. You can't show up 5 minutes late to your session and ask for, heat pack and ultrasound and stim. That ain't going to happen.
especially in today's day and age too, or, you know,
Yeah.
20 years ago, you could bill for a hot pack or a cold pack, and it's just the ways of the past too. But I think when you get into high end athletics, like professional sports, and say it helps, I don't know, devil's advocate, 1%.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And especially if they're actively playing through an injury and before practice, they get 15 minutes of stim.
Yeah.
And that can let them practice. Looking for a way to improve sport-specific training with your athletes? Then you have to check out Blaze Pods. Blaze Pods is a neurocognitive reaction training intervention that can be incorporated into your sessions for patients throughout the treatment spectrum. Visit blazepod.com. Enter code EverythingPT at checkout and save 15% off your order today. Hey, all you rehab specialists out there. Do you have an isokinetic dynamometer just sitting around your clinic not being used? Little known fact, isokinetic machines that aren't used regularly are at higher risk for bouts of sadness. Help your machine out and take CSMI's newest CEU course, Isokinetics 101 online, created by me, Daniel Bodkin, and learn how to use all the exercise and testing applications available on your machine. With new and exciting rehab techniques in your toolbox, your sad isokinetic machine can become an active member of the rehab team again and regain its happiness. Isokinetics 101 online by CSMI has been approved for 8 credit hours for athletic trainers, physical therapists, and physical therapy assistants. Contact your state board for details on specific requirements. This course is available at humacnorm.com/courses/isokinetics-101.
Sometimes Miss Susie, you know, here with chronic back pain, who's been struggling, or like super pain dominant. Sometimes you can, like you said, use it to kind of help make them feel good. And then the hopes are that they tolerate, you know, a little bit more exercise or whatever progressive loading that we know is going to give them a long lasting effect.
Well, that's a great segue right there. We went from acute injuries to more chronic recurrent injuries.
Yeah.
Same question. Are we making them feel better? Or are we actually making them better?
Are we going to pick on chronic back pain, or do you want
to say chronic back pain, or we can even throw, you know, an arthritic knee in there?
Yeah. Arthritic knee. I usually, the verbiage I use for something like that is if they come in and they're begging for instrument assisted soft tissue mobilization. And I'm like, yeah, we have that stuff. Why don't we do some? Do you feel like it's helpful? Yeah, I've had it in the past. And I say, okay, let's do that. And we do it for 8-10 minutes. The science and research, not great for it, but you know what? If it's the patient feels like it's helpful, it's going to take very little of our time. Yeah. And we want to maximize the non-specific effects of what we're doing for sure. And continue with our loading of the knee if we can.
Yeah. Early on, you know, if they're going to be coming to see you for 2 months, and it's a chronic issue. Early on, when their pain is really high and their ability to function and load the tissue is low, yeah, we can start with those things, but we know ultimately it's about conditioning that tissue to tolerate more stress, more load again. So even though we're not directly affecting that tissue with exercise or increasing their load tolerance, we pretty much are, in broader terms, making them better.
Right. You know, the words therapeutic alliance also come to mind. You know, we had J.W. Matheson on, and he's done a lot of work in that field. Very hard to measure objectively, as you and I know, but the more people know, like, and trust you, the more that they're going to buy into your plan of care. They're going to trust you with their loading, and it's going to be okay if they're a little bit sore after their last session, rather than, oh my gosh, he hurt me and I don't trust him, I'm going to go down the street somewhere else, you know? So,
well, you mentioned the tour guide. Just like the tour guide is always giving descriptors, you know, talking about what you're currently doing. You should also be able to let them know where you're going next. So, you know, once you leave, you know, one side on the tour, say, hey, you know, we're going to go to this place, sit down and relax, you know, for the next 10 minutes. Same thing with us. We need to say, hey, I know we've been working on, you know, like phase 1 rehab, but we're going to transition into phase 2. And it's going to look like this. So if we kind of give, you know, great instructions, you know, we kind of paint that picture, give the directions. I think that helps.
So something I agree, Daniel. Something I wanted to share that happened to me when we first started private practice was I didn't do any modalities, and then I quickly realized that, oh wow, these people, they feel slighted because they're very much used to receiving them. And then I realized, like, oh wow, this is the narrative right now. They're going to go somewhere else. So might as well give into that a little bit and make them feel good. There's nothing wrong with that. I used to be on a high horse with that. And I feel like if I could go back and do that differently, I feel like I would in the past.
When I moved to Nashville and I took over the clinic, the old clinic director was like, hey, our hydroculator's not working. I just haven't bought one yet. And I was like, I ain't buying one. That's just one more thing I have to do every day is check the temperature and write it on my little log that I did it. I never bought one, and I had a lot of patients that would come in and say they wanted the heat pack. Now I kept, the plug-in, unit, the heat pad.
Yeah.
But again, it was a way to, say, well, let's try to get a more active warm up, or, let me do this, modality or some manual things versus making it just sitting on that hot pack for 10 minutes of your session.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. And when I've talked to a few people who are really, really involved with upper level athletes. And like we touched on before, if you're dealing with any of those guys, it's almost like dry needling, anything that would give them one little bit of advantage as well, is it would be a really, really good reason to do some of that stuff, even though there's not a lot of good science and evidence behind it too. So,
yeah, I just know that, like, again, let's just say for the knee, I could put a hot pack on that knee for, 8 to 10 minutes, or I could just get you cycling on the recumbent bike. Initially, it'll be a little bit sore, but within a couple minutes, you're going to have a better effect of warming up on that than you with the heat pack. But, we always steer away from our original topics. Is it making them better, or is it making them just feel better?
Right. Yeah. Do we make people feel better, or do we actually get people better? So I think there's a couple different kind of clinics too. You know what clinic I'm talking about, where you go and you get a hot pack, ultrasound, massage, you get kinesio tapes, you get everything but the progressive loading. And I'm worried about what people are not doing, rather than insert 4 or 5 modalities that fills their entire plan of care.
Yeah. If any of my colleagues that I went to school with who were like super into the McKenzie method actually listen to this is my way of testing them. Right? Because I have a handful of people we went to school with that are all about McKenzie, and they will, argue that to the death of me. But that's when I feel we're making them feel better. And this is just for the purist, McKenzie, that only do McKenzie technique and never progress to like strengthening and, things like that. That's when I feel that it's making them feel better, but it's not actually making them better.
Yeah. Yeah.
At some point you got to pick stuff up.
You do.
I can only do extensions so much. We have to get the function, and it's more than just sitting up tall and pulling your belly button in, right? I love McKenzie for those early phases of like chronic low back pain, but damn it, you hurt your back gardening, I have to condition you for that same load so you're not back here again in a few months. So that's one where when you said, making them feel better versus actually making them better, McKenzie is one that popped up into my head right there. Tons of research out there that shows it's very effective at reducing pain.
Sure.
But like, I don't want you to have to come back here for 6 months for the same thing. I want to, get your pain low. Then I want to strengthen the heck out of you and get you functional to where you don't have to go through this again.
Yeah, that's very true. Just change gears a little bit. Something that I feel like this topic, it's kind of divides our people can get real upset real quick. And that used to be me too. And I've learned to just kind of like, it's not a huge deal. We try to make people give them a little bit of pain relief while we systematically, pragmatically build them up. But that is just so divisive in our field. And I feel like it's created this weird, I don't know, division, you could say, And I feel like we kind of lose out on a little bit of like the force behind the APTA because we're just yelling at each other and arguing about what therapy is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's there's many ways to skin a cat. And here's the thing is,
Sure.
Your patient isn't my patient. So I don't care what you do with yours. I'm going to do with my patients what I like to do, what works for them. So ultimately, I can't sit there and like judge you on what you do. But again, if you come at me with what I'm doing or not doing, it's like, look, my people are getting better too. So there's so many ways to approach it.
Yeah. I try to stay open-minded, when it comes to making people feel better or actually getting them better. I'm very open-minded. I like to feel like you and I both are just for getting people better and learning, lifelong students of physical therapy. So, and I have an open mind even to ultrasound. I pick on it from time to time, but I'm still open-minded to be challenged if it's super, super effective and like that with everything too. And I think it's important our field is, or I think we're going to miss out on some great ways to get people better quickly.
And, when I was with John, we had a few older patients and they had, every, musculoskeletal pathology, over the years, and just making them feel better was big. So what would happen is, we would, go through our course of rehab, but then when they were done, lots of times they would come in and just do, cash based or private pay services to get, a K-tape or an ultrasound or a laser or traction or something, one of those, more passive things that they said that makes me feel better. And again, it was usually after they were discharged from that course of care, and then they would come in and they would pay privately for those things. And I'm totally okay with that. If getting traction on your neck when you have, bone spurs everywhere and arthritic levels and, numbness and tingling running down your hands. And if, laying on traction for 15 minutes or getting a K-tape or an ultrasound or a scrape can make you feel significantly better, fantastic,
Yeah. Or if that patient is super stuck on one and you're, deep down, you don't want to offer or give it to them, but just give it to them too, because you give it to them in a small dose, they're happy, they feel a little better, more confident. And like kinesio tape, an example of a conversation I might have is the patient brings up, hey, what about kinesio tape? I say, well, do you feel like it's helpful for you? Yeah, well, I'll put it on and we'll see how you feel. It feels great. Well, let's go ahead and let's do some squats, with a very lightweight and see how you feel. And it might add to their confidence too. And I think that's helpful.
And, it takes me all of, 5 minutes or less to tape a shoulder or a knee so I would put it on with a lot of patients, knowing half of them would say it gives them a little bit of an effect. But I put it on as like, look, if you think this helps and it's something you want to do, we can do that. But what I would do is I would sell them a roll of their K-tape, and then we would use their roll of K-tape. Because, if you're K-taping everybody with your own money walking out the door, that, that's one of those little things that can help with your finances at the end of the month. And if it's something that they really want, then they're going to invest into that, $9 roll of tape.
I'll have to buy you a beer for that tip, Daniel. I got a big giant roll of it we just give out there in the clinic. So,
John had this awesome equipment called the ATM2. You should just Google it when we're done.
I'll write it down.
That was another one. It was great for people with low back issues. And some people, they'd go on there and they'd, walk in, their pain would be 5 out of 10 pain, limited range of motion, less than 5 minutes on this machine. Because what it would do, you use a series of straps to position their low lumbar, pelvic, and thoracic spine into a neutral position. Then you would do isometric exercise with it, and they'd come off and just like brand new, no pain at all. And then we would, move on with our session. But some of those people too, they'd, call up a month after their discharge saying, hey, my back's hurting a little bit. Can I come in and just get on the ATM for, a few minutes? And again, that was just something that, we would have it as a private pay. They'd come on, spend, 5-10 minutes on the machine. And then, John would usually, say, hey, did you want any ice with it? Did you want us to run you through any exercise to kind of fill out that 15-minute, time that they purchased with their money? So again, something, is it that we made it feel better in that short time, which actually made them function better, or did it truly just make them better?
Right. No, I think that's very wise to do. The scenario that I just came into my mind is that, you got a patient after, we'll say, a partial meniscectomy on the knee, and you just overdo it. You overdose them and they come back, they're blown up, they can hardly walk, they're having a hard time. And the worst thing you can do is just push them to do more exercise, on an angry, swollen knee. So that might be a good time for some ice, the stuff that's going to get them better is load management, isometrics, some easy range of motion, controlling how long they're on their feet, but also maybe make them feel that'd be a good spot to insert X, cryotherapy, or insert whatever you want to, kind of thing.
I know this is the mortal sin of therapists, but I've even told those patients sometimes not to come in. They come in and their pain is just out of control. And then I would say, your pain is really bad. Come in so we can at least get you out of this.
Yeah.
But I've had people where they're kind of like mid-range, like, hey, we really overdid it last visit. I could come in, but I don't know what I'd get out of it. It's like, what? Let's cancel Monday. I'll see you Wednesday. Just rest your knee, do your exercises at home. So in that case, by doing nothing, we made it, we did more.
Sure. Sometimes less is more, I think, in the long run, and after post-surgery and stuff. And John Hisimoto is going to send you an email about that, trying to see how much money he lost for those patients you recommended to stay home.
No, that would be, he would do that sometimes, but that was more when I was in Tennessee. Again, if I had somebody, they're like, hey, I'm running 20 minutes late, should I come in? It's like, come in, can you come in tomorrow? And we would make up the visit then. Again, that's just the art versus the science of it sometimes.
Gotcha.
Knowing your people too.
So Daniel, do we make people feel better? Do we actually get them better? I think the answer is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah,
maybe we can do both. Kind of using therapeutic alliance to our effect, maximizing non-specific effects.
Well,
things of that nature.
Can you make somebody better without making them feel better?
It's a good question. It's a really good question. I don't think I'm smart enough to, though.
I don't think so either. And then, can we make somebody feel better without, I think we can make people feel better without actually making them better, but I don't think we can make people better without also making them feel better.
Yeah, I would agree. Like all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I think that's all I got, buddy. Can we think of anything else to touch on with this one?
No, that's a good one for today.
Awesome. Very good. Well, thanks for listening, everybody, and we will catch you next time on the podcast. Bye.